Hello, everyone. Corey here. I wanted today to come in and actually speak about something that, yes, a lot of people talk about. I am not the first one, I am not the last one. And most times, you're not talking about this and you're not even hearing this until you're going through it. And this was a request that a friend had asked me to talk more about a while ago. And I had it on my radar, it was on my list. And how I would speak about it was different. And so, what we're going to speak about today is that relationship, the spiritual relationship between menopause and spirituality. So, written a lot of little note things that I have jotted down. And of course, I'm always going to let channel communicate through the messages. And so, I never know exactly how this is going to unfold. But I do know that whether it's premenopause, menopause, whether it's just different stages in life, motherhood, single life, married life, whatever it is, you're never really interested in the conversation, or you think you know a whole lot about the conversation until you're actively in it and you realize how little you know, or you become interested in it because it begins to influence your life and it has an impact upon your life. And so then too often I hear it all the time on Instagram and Facebook. I hear people say, you know, oh, no one's ever talking about this. I wish more people would have spoke about this, whether it is things such as um, postpartum. No one talks about it. Yes, they are. You're just not listening because it didn't matter before. And so menopause is no different. You didn't matter. It didn't matter when it wasn't affecting you. It doesn't matter. So if this is not for you, then just scroll on. Later in life, come back into the library, into the playlist list, and this video will still be there. It will still be available for you to be able to listen to in my YouTube playlist. And so there is many videos that are made about the goddess energy, about feminine energy. There's many videos about the mystical realm, the mystical and magical life, as I have evolved, transformed through my journey and shared my curiosity, my wonder. And I've asked the questions to the guides and I've allowed the guides to communicate back to me that gave me teachings to share. Have they evolved? Have they changed even since I would have recorded those videos several years back? Absolutely. So this one, I'm sure, will evolve. How and why can I talk about this now? Because I was 36 years old. No, earlier. I was about 34 years old when I began to go into perimenopause. I was 36 years old when I was pushed into full blown menopause. I was very young. I had a lot of complications early in life. I was only 24 years old when I was first diagnosed with having precancer cells in the fifth stage in my cervix, or fourth stage, fifth stage, whatever it was, in my cervix. I was only 25 years old when they removed a massive part of my cervix. And at the time, the gynecologist, an older gentleman, me being young, not having any other one there to be an advocate for me, being naive, had no idea the impact of having that part of my cervix removed. And it continued for years. And of course, all of this led back through my healing journey. And the spiritual relationship with it is what is invisible in our emotional, unresolved, unhealed becomes physical in our body. That which we hold on to, that trauma that we experience in our lives, that becomes a part of our pain in our body is true. There is such truth to that. And so for myself, my drive to be there for women, to support women in as many ways as I possibly can, and still also be there for myself, has been a drive driven because of my traumatic experiences in unhealthy relationships, betrayal, um, infidelities, all of those things that take place, but also my inability to be able to be really truly in my a sovereign being in myself, to not have boundaries, and also to not to be able to stand up for myself, to allow myself to be influenced in unhealthy ways throughout life. There's so many things, but at this stage and where I am in life and sharing this part of the journey is the menopause stage of life. And at 54 years old, and having frizzy hair. I was supposed to be getting my hair done today, so I had to turn around, come back home. So my hair is not done because the roads were bad. And so now I'm recording this video for you. And all the things that changes, these are the minor little things that we talk about. But, it's like frizzy hair, your skin changes, your body changes. And too often we keep comparing ourselves to the past, to past versions of yourself. How often do we do that? And so you may look back at pictures and think, oh, I could wear this size of pants when I was this age. I could do this at this age. I could do that at that age. And my skin was this. I had this hair when I was this age. That's a comparison. That is such a self-deflating comparison. Comparing yourself to only the image of what's in the mirror today and not to anything of the past allows you to have a whole lot more compassion for where you are. And when you can start to look into that reflection and you can look in and go, damn, girl, yeah, you've got me through many stages in life, many periods of time. There's many fluctuations. My light keeps tipping over. There's many fluctuations that happens at this stage of life. You can be all puffy one day and then down 5 or 6 pounds the next day. Those are all part of the of the menopause. But what really was coming up for me, and I wrote these down, was is about the multidimensional understanding. Too often, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, whether it's spiritual health, is that we try to look at everything in a one-dimensional view. And we try to see it through the eyes and the lens of only one-dimensional. But everything is multidimensional. When we're dealing with our mental well-being, is that we also have to look at our emotional well-being. We have to look at where we're emotionally trapped, where we are underdeveloped within the emotions. We have to look at our spiritual hygiene. We have to look at everything. And we're getting there. We're getting there in science. We're getting there in the healthcare system. We're getting there slowly but surely. But I recognize how far behind we kind of are in some things when I was looking for something to do with the moon. And only thing that came up was for the first 4 pages on Google. It was everything that was only from NASA, science-based, even from People magazine to every list of every magazine before it actually got to the spiritual experts. And it was about 4 or 5 pages down before you could get to the spiritual experts. Those of us who work in the spiritual work and we look at things with an open mind and an open heart, and us who have spent a lifetime studying, discovering spirituality before that, we are the ones who were really the ones that have been kind of afraid to be ourselves or have been shamed out of being ourselves. And that is the wisdom and knowledge that arrived with us, that we came connected into this greater consciousness, and everything ties into consciousness. And if you can see everything through all the layers of consciousness and all the ways that consciousness kind of moves, right? Way that consciousness is activated or active within our lives, is that you see there is the unconscious, the subconscious, the conscious awareness to the greater consciousness. And so there's always another, we can be stumped. It's easy to be stumped when we can't move beyond the end of our nose, when it's like, well, nothing is making sense, and nothing's making sense because we refuse to look anywhere else. And too often menopause is no different, and premenopause is no different, and postpartum is no different. And it all ties back to expectations or by the book. And not everything in life is by the book. You got to throw out the damn books sometimes. It's not a step-by-step awakening. Spirituality, it's not like a step-by-step journey that you take. Oh, this happens and then that happens. And then, no, it is the element of surprise. It is the things that catch you off guard. It's the things that you don't expect that begin to happen and that unfold in our lives. And so understanding how the multidimensional, understand how menopause and spirituality interact is what I really want to look at. And so menopause imagine menopause as an initiation. And we're like, how is that an initiation? How is that possible? How can it be an initiation? Well, it is. In a way, it's an initiation into the wise woman. It is into the crone. Is there a limitation? Is there a specific age of when women begin to go into menopause? No, it's not going to happen in your 20s, most likely, unless, women may have to go through hysterectomies really early, which their bodies change. And if they still have their ovaries, then of course you're still going to have that, you're still going to have all of your womanliness. You're still going to have that femininity to you. But if a woman has to have her ovaries removed, well, there goes her estrogen, right? It's like everything is affected when there's no eggs flowing, right? When the flow is interrupted. And so imagine having this whole little system that is a part of you, and then all of a sudden it is not there. And it's so disheartening to see how being a woman is in some ways so discounted and so disregarded. And it's very sad to see it more and more, how we look at it as, to mimic, to mock, to forget the power of the feminine and what women do. Women are the creators of this world. Women bring life into this world. And women are the only ones who can bring life into this world, females, including in the animal kingdom, right? It's like they are the only ones that can bring that miracle product, that miracle ingredient into this world. And so women are such creators. They're natural creators. And so when we go through menopause, and no matter what stage we go through menopause or what age we go through menopause, is that it's a period of time of when life feels like everything is on a decrease. It's like a decline. You become invisible. And I just remember my mom telling me this, and she would have been in her early 50s, and her saying to me, this is where you become invisible. This is the beginning of becoming invisible. And then over the years, I've heard her say, then it becomes the age of where people think you know nothing. They think you know nothing, but they forget you lived a lifetime. And I find that to be so disheartening, but I see it so much. I see it so much as you see, as I bear witness to, say, my own mom slowing down, and I'm 54, she's 74, I'm going to be 55, and she's going to be 75, and we are 20 years exactly apart. And just going through these phases of life, from who I am today and how much I have healed and evolved my own stories to be able to appreciate how blessed I am to still have my mother here to observe her journey and to be able to listen to her experience through this stage of life. She has been here, and I have never been in this. I've never been right here. I've not been 55. I haven't even been to the back end of 54 yet. Wherever you are a newbie in wherever you are. You have not been there. You have not been in your tomorrow. You have not been in the next experience. You have not been in your next day. You're right here. And this is right where you are. And this is one of the greatest wisdoms that I think is one of the most freeing things, is that I don't have to have it figured out. And so there's a lot about menopause I freaking don't know. Even though I've come through menopause, am I still having little things? Yes. But for the most part, I've been in active menopause since I was 36 years old. And at 54, kind of coming through most of those ends, but never say never is one thing that I have learned. Never say never because you never know when there is another round about to hit, another round of the experience. My mother, she would tell us that she didn't experience it, but I experienced my mother changing. And so she would say, I never had any side effects because she didn't have hot flashes. She didn't have any of those things that had happened. But I watched the woman change. And I watched her change mentally, physically, and how her life changed, how she changed, how she started to take a stand for herself in ways that she probably would not have taken a stand before. So yes, there is many multidimensional levels. So the initiation into this wise woman, into the crone archetype. And for anyone who knows my work knows that I am fascinated with archetypal work and archetypal energy, and I love to work with the archetypes. So I'm always in an awareness of the archetype has its light, its shadow, and it has its and it has its and it has its it has its neutral, it has its place in our lives, and each and every role that we play is doesn't mean that it has to be defined to a certain degree. Like every woman who's in a crone energy doesn't need, every woman who's in a crone energy doesn't all of a sudden have to become an image of the old woman in the shoe. It doesn't have to become the old woman sitting in a rocking chair knitting. That's not the way that it is. And there's nothing wrong with being that woman either. She's pretty cool. I had a grandmother who was 80 years old and she was still rocking it and still rocking in a rocking chair, but still rocking it in life as well. Um, but it's so easy to get lost in the narrative of reading reading your identity and then trying to identify by it. So reading in books or reading in books or listening to videos about menopause and about what it looks like or what it looks like to be this age or to be that age or to defy this age, to make sure you defy it. You don't want to be this, you don't want to look at, but yet reality is we're right there. And so it's then we create a vigilante within ourselves sometimes, and we become the vigilante of anti-aging, or we become the embodiment of embracing that journey. And so is it right? Is it wrong? There is no real right or no wrong to this. It's in understanding that the identity of a crone is based in wisdom. It is in the wisdom, the wiseness that now replaces the parts of ourselves that may have been attractive in other ways. The magnetism about who we are shifts and changes. The flow of us changes. And I just remember my gynecologist saying, he says, Corrie, you still have all your parts, but those things that used to be ovaries are just two shriveled up little raisins in there now. And so I got little raisins. They have no purpose. They're just two little raisins and they just sit there. And they're just there. And he keeps them there in case I get cancer cells come back. The ovaries, the uterus, it doesn't have it's not useful anymore. It's a holding space. And it's a holding space. You know what? It freaking holds a lot of stories. Um, and it's what has become my saving grace, because every time there is a cancer cell that enters into that area, or sorry, a precancer cell, it goes into that area and we're able to always be treating that area. Um, and so when we look at the wise woman and the crone archetype, is that what that is and what the wisdom, the wise woman represents is it's a transition. And so it's when we really look at the life we have lived that was driven by external roles. And we start to see through and beyond the external roles, the role as mother, caretaker, as wife, as partner, as all the things, as the kind of dependable one. And it also reveals to us the life that is rooted in the inner authority, the social, the spiritual sovereignty and wisdom. And what it begins to kind of question and help us question is who we are and what we are beyond those roles. Is who am I as the mother, and who and what am I mothering, and how often do I get trapped in the illusions of still believing I'm still the mother to those little children, right? It's like, oh, my little Johnny, my little Susie, like, oh, they're my world, but are you their world? And it's when you start to realize that you are not their world. Once your children grow up and they go about living their lives, you're not their world. And that does not mean for 1 second that they do not love you. It means that they go out to be alive in their lives and live their lives, and to begin to come into an understanding of who they need to be in the roles in their lives, and the partners they create in this world, and the relationships that they have. And so the relationship that we have with our children or with the people in our lives, it can become very stagnant, or when we're holding on too tight, and that really affects how we adapt emotionally, spiritually through these menopausal stages of life, or even premenopause. Is we want everything to stay the same. If you're still looking at the younger version of you and your younger life, and you're getting very resentful and very upset and very angry that you're not that person, and that your children are not that person, and that your relationships are not the same, and it's not, they're not the problem. That's not the problem. You are the issue. And you have an attachment issue that is happening. And most of that's coming because of the external, your relationship to the external roles that you play, and how you have identified yourself, and how you wear the identity as mother instead of as woman. This gives us an opportunity to really move through and shift our identities into expanding the archetypal identities that we have. That you have so many are there's so much to be discovered about who you are and what you are. And so what this awakens within us is it awakens the crone, the high priestess, the truth teller, the oracle, and the keeper of the inner flame. And so often you become the person in the family people come to. If you build a healthy relationship that is based on truth, honesty, and giving people space. And too often we're afraid to give people space because we're afraid we're going to be abandoned or to be left alone in this world. And this is where we have to really look at our attachments to those relationships and to the stories that we've created. And the crone wisdom is all about endings. It is about the final stages. It is about knowing about when one thing ends, something new begins. So let's just say little Johnny grows up and little Johnny is now an adult. Little Johnny is 18. Little Johnny needs to go make all the mistakes the little 18-year-old would make. And sometimes that's hard to do because you want to still be the youthful mother to the 18-year-old, but you're all the way over here, right? And so being over here and being able to be the role is saying, you know what, I can advise you. So moving into the advisor without being the controller. And menopause is one of the greatest teachers of taking control out of our hands. And the reason why a lot of people struggle with the menopause is because they're trying to control it. You're always trying to get rid of menopause instead of flowing through menopause. And that's where we get stuck, is that, oh my God, I can't take this. What am I going to do? What did you do? How did you do it? And it's like, I accepted it. And this is the key to everything, is an acceptance. Is the wise woman has learned the power of being content with where we are in this moment, but not complacent, but also an acceptance and accepting where we are, while still looking to evolve with it, resolve, help ourselves through it, to find ways to help to relieve some of the symptoms that come with it, but not to be in denial. The wise woman is never in denial. And that's the crone. The crone has stopped living in denial. And that's the problem that that rises up in these roles that we sometimes play, is that we live in denial. We live in denial of change. We live in denial of growth. And we live in denial that people are, we think everyone in our lives are the same people. Like, we look at our partners, we look at ourselves, and it's like, well, you keep looking at the same people that went into a marriage, but you're not the same people. Stand in the mirror together. Put a picture on and of when you first met to where you are. You're not looking at the same people. You're looking at people who have gained a lot of wisdom, and together and wisely, you could really, truly, really grow together and really come to understand each other by having conversations about the changes that are happening in you and in your body and in your mind and in your heart, without kind of taking it so personally. It's a very personal journey, but it's not personally attacking you. Menopause is not coming to attack you. Menopause is the transition that the body is taking. It is the, it is kind of like, it is like a descent, but don't take, it's not a doomsday. It's a descent. It's descending. It's the layers of ourselves that are going down, and it's going down so that we can go into a rest. Is the menopausal woman is not here to be the youthful warrior anymore. We're not here to be going to war. We're here to be the one who gets to be the oracle, who gets to be the wise one. And you can't convince people to listen to you at all. And so everything is multidimensional. And so if you look at, let's say, for example, and so when we look at it in the way of it not being, let's just say, it's not about the aging process, and it's not so much even about the decline. It's about the integration that is happening. It's about reclaiming the power, your power. And it's about becoming like, how's it, a steward? It's becoming a steward of a life lived. You are an expert in the field of the life you have lived. So it's so easy for someone to sit and tell you how to do things who have never been there. It's like a conversation I had with my friend. It's so easy for people who have never had children, who can very quickly jump in to give advice on how to parent, but yet they have never parented. And if that was my kid, no, it's not your kid. And did you ever have a kid? And, why didn't you have? Well, I didn't want kids. Why didn't you want kids? And when you start questioning people like that, they become defensive, but they don't want you to become defensive about you standing up to people about, the fact that you're doing the best that you can in your parenting. And so you're doing the best that you can. It's really, truly this. And when I speak about the integration and speak about how we're integrating this is the part about integrating in the wise woman versus the warrior, is that you don't have to be the warrior woman. You don't have to be the Freya to the world. You don't have to be the one that goes out and and has to be the one who's out saving the world on the front lines of everything. You can sit back and you can be an advisor. You can be an advisor to others. you kind of begin to lose that. And it's not a losing of your passion or your desire. You're losing the attachment to the ego's desire about being forgotten. And that's what begins to change. It's because you can, when you start to understand how we're all seen, we're all loved, we're all enough, all of those things, you kind of sit back and you kind of smile a little bit. And you watch the struggles of the world, and you have something that could probably change it and make life easier. But did anyone else make yours easier? Probably tried, but did you listen? No. So sometimes we have to just bear witness. And it's hard to be able to just bear witness. And the reclaiming of the power is that you finally, the truth teller, where you step into the truth teller is not that you just start blurting out truth to everyone else, is you start to tell yourself the truth. And this is one of the big parts about the spiritual and the multidimensional connection to menopause is you start to be honest with yourself. You don't look in the mirror and you don't tell yourself a lie. Like, I'm not enough. I'm, I'm never going to be enough. No one's going to love me. You're going, you know what? I've been loved throughout my life. I've done, this body has taken me great places. It's done great things. I'm tired of beating this body up. I'm tired of being hard on myself. I'm tired of picking at myself. I'm tired of doing all those things. And I just don't want to have to do it no more. So I'm going to start being honest. And the truth teller always begins with self. So if you are in that premenopause stage, if you're in that menopause stage, it begins with embodying the archetype of the truth teller and being able to allow yourself to be guided by the insight, because you're feeling more and you feel more irritation and you're feeling the irritation. And part of that's coming because you're being discounted. And there's this fine line between inspiring people and irritating the shit out of people. It's true. It's such truth. Is there's an absolute fine line between irritation and inspiration. And when you look at the why, when you look at the the menopause in the way of, or the even the perimenopause, when you look at it in the sense of, okay, I have to breathe deeply into myself. This is where we learn to have patience. This is where we learn to be patient with ourselves. Because this journey, and what this journey is, it's so much more than just biological. This is a soul initiation. It is the beginning of a relationship with your soul. It is the rite of passage for a woman. A man can have their menopause, but this is a woman's rite of passage. This is women only. It's a women's only club. And I'm sorry to inform you, there is no man who can enter in through the rite of passage of menopause. No man. No matter what, you are not a woman. You are a man. And I don't mean that to be offensive in any way. There's a whole difference. And it is something that we have to really truly not tread lightly for, not, and this is not about treading lightly for the people who want to be accepted, but we have to really step with grace and love and appreciation for the women who too often in life have been discounted. And that's the women that are walking through this rite of passage, because we are like the forgotten. And too often, even another woman coming into, say, a son's life, as a wife, as a partner, as a girlfriend, whatever that is, to discount the power of another woman. In your later stages, you have to remember you may have to experience this as well. So, healing the unresolved within us, unless it's dangerous, of course, healing the unresolved within us and recognizing the value of the creators of this world, the value of women and what women bring to this world in such a way of power, of truth, of understanding a part of who we are in our spiritual identity, and to be valued and to be honored. There is an honoring that we have lost track of, that we have kind of let slip aside, and that women, empowering women, have to remember that putting up big boundaries that push out the wisdom keepers of the family, the wise ones, the matriarchs of the family, is discounting what value can actually be brought in. And this is a rite of passage that is only given, and any of us that are blessed to make it to the age to enter into that rite of passage, it's an honor to reach this age. It's an honor to be able to walk through this. But this is a stage in a woman's life that is to be valued, it is to be appreciated, and it needs to be given great compassion, because it changes a woman mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally. And it's because we start to see truth. We start to see through the bullshit. We start to see through all the things that you thought you needed to do, who you thought you needed to be. You start to strip back the wardrobe. You start to take off the makeup. You start to care less about the things that should never had mattered before. And you start to care more about the woman who was involved in that whole experience, and about the things that really matters the most. And so it sometimes comes with a lot of passion and compassion. But a key to this on a spiritual level is for women to really recognize that your roles are here to evolve, and you're not here to stay the same, to the same version of, say, your younger children, to your past life, to all of that. You're here to evolve as well. And so it does create an expansion. It also creates space. And sometimes it's like people say, well, it's lonelier here. And yeah, it can be in the beginning when you're like used to your life being full. What the universe is doing is providing time for you to do the things for yourself that you never got to do before. And it's never too late to do the things that you didn't get to do before. Age is not stopping you from doing those things. Your conditioning is stopping you. It's conditioning, and it's stopping you from doing the things that you've probably always wanted to do, but now you're telling yourself, I'm too old for that. I don't have the guts for that. I can't do that. And that is all the limitations, because at this stage, intimidation and you has set in, and you are more intimidated than you are actually afraid. Because if the younger version of you was all brave and courageous and wanted to do it, why can't this age and stage of you do it? And so the only thing that really shuts us down is that we start to see in the one-dimensional view, which is everything that we actually hate, and we stop seeing the multidimensional view. And so the hormonal shift mirrors a consciousness shift. The hormonal shift mirrors a consciousness shift. It is a shift in consciousness that is happening as estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone reorganizes itself. The subtle body also reorganizes too. And so your subtle body begins to reorganize itself, which what happens is that it heightens your intuition. It increases your emotional clarity. You become so much more emotionally aware and clear and decisive in your decisions and your decision making. And it's not that you're getting crabby, it's you're getting less tolerant to things, to bullshit. And so people call you grumpy, people will call you difficult, people will call you hard to get along with, and it's because you're not so easily manipulated. And that's the part that is being, that's the consciousness that is awakening as all the subtle body is reorganizing every little aspect of who you are. So you become a whole lot less tolerant for anything that is misaligned, for anything that you could have accepted before. There's this natural release that begins to happen. And that natural release that's happening is of survival pattern, those old just survival patterns. And too often we have raised our family, we have lived in survival mode. And that sense of survival mode, what you start to realize is like you're at the top of this cliff, the top of the mountain, and you're looking there, it's like, well, I survived that. I've survived. I've survived. And you have all the survival skills to become a survivalist in the survival, which means now I have all the tools that I need. So I'm ready to just let go and just trust and do things that are out of character. And when people will say, oh, but I can't believe you're taking this on at that age. At what age? And what age would that be? Tell me what age that would be that I'm taking that on. And I would hear that with us purchasing this house and moving to the country. And I'm like, this was the dream that I couldn't have. This was the dream that just never, in the depending on other people's likes and other people's happiness and where other people needed to live in my life and their comforts and making sure that I could accommodate, this life wasn't possible. But at this stage, this life is possible. So that release of the old survival patterns is that I have to be in a specific place for specific things. No, no, you don't. So naturally, there's a release of these old survival patterns. And too often in perimenopausal, you're trying to hang on to all of these things we are talking about. You're clinging to life like this. You're clinging to the past. You're clinging to the old versions of you. You're holding on. You're trying to stop the train from derailing, but the fucking train has to derail. It has to freaking crash. It has to burn. It has to just let go. And menopause is where we just get up from the train wreck and we brush ourselves off and we walk forward as it's all kind of burning down behind and we just keep going and we kind of have a smirk on our face and we're just like, goodbye to that. that's that's the difference. Perimenopause, we're holding on for dear life like this. We're trying to keep everything together. We're trying to make everything fit and make everything work. We don't want to disappoint ourselves by the things that we said. I would never do this and I would never do that. But here you are, and you have to do some of those things that you swore you would never do. But you have to remember that version of you made that oath. This version of you did not make that oath at all. And that's what you recognize, is that this version of you never made those freaking oaths at all. Never. Wasn't my oath, wasn't my plan. That was that version of me. And so menopause is when you let go. Perimenopause, you're clinging. And if you can let go early enough and you can just accept that this is the journey I have to walk, it is like walking into a cave and you know that there's an opening on the other end and you have to walk it anyway. And it might feel scary and it might be unfamiliar and it might be unknown, but I gotta go. And so you make it as easy as you can by taking the pressure off yourself, by cutting off those shackles, those restraints, the things that stand in your way. So back to the reorganizing part of it is we have this deeper desire for deeper meaning and energetic simplicity. We just want, it's the simpler way. It's like, why didn't I just do that before? Life would have been so simple if I hadn't have complicated. So this is the phase of life on a spiritual level, is where you start to uncomplicate things. You start to look at things in a much simpler way. I just had a message from someone a few nights ago, and bless her heart, I love her. But she had asked me something about a reel, and it was around the Three Eye Atlas stuff that's going on. and here's the wise crone woman of me. I'm like, I'm sorry, my brain is just not there. I don't even have an answer for you. Um, this this reel got your attention, and a lot of this is to grab your attention. I said, it's to grab your attention. And if it's going to grab your attention, if you're going to get consumed by it, it's going to own you. Whatever consumes you owns you. And when you let it consume you, it owns you. If perimenopause, if if menopause consumes you, it owns you. Everything that consumes you owns you. And no matter what it is, and when you are no longer consumed by things, you are no longer a prisoner to it. It doesn't have ownership over you. We are a sovereign being. We have this freedom to live our lives. And the world can come crashing down around me. Can I change it? No. What can I change? I can't change people's minds on what they think. No. Nope, not at all. Not even going to try. Not even going to try. Think what you think, believe what you want to believe. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to me. It only matters when you get consumed by it. And so this is why it becomes an energetic simplicity. We stop being attached to the things that really doesn't matter. And we don't let ourselves be consumed with stuff that we can see all the imitation, all the all the all the kerfuffle around it, and we pay attention, we put our focus to the things that truly matter the most. And so that deeper desire for meaning, is that something that is meaningful for me, or is that something to cause more fear, to get tangled up in being right and to being wrong? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. My brain don't have space for it, right? And that's a part of it, that deeper meaning of life. I want meaningful friendships, meaningful conversations. I want meaningful connections. And I am not obligated and responsible to be there to be the caretaker for anyone or anything other than myself. Am I there to love my family? Absolutely. Am I there to be there with my family, to take part in family? Yes. Do I love my family? I love my family probably more now than I could before, because I didn't love myself the same way. You are here to transition through that as well. What holds you back from it is your fear of letting go. Who would you be with no story? And so instead of keep trying to, you know, correct what is wrong, it's an acceptance of what is wrong and then working with the energy so that we can flow through the process. And we're not here to just shrivel up and die. We're here to live our lives and to be alive in our lives rather than focused on being afraid of dying. We're here to be alive in our lives. And so it's the other one is a somatic purging of unhealed or hidden memories. And that's why many of us go through like the beginning stages of perimenopause, through menopause, is we go through this kind of awakenings, these ahas that happen, and those unresolved, unhealed stories and parts of ourselves comes to life. And we start to do the healing work that is needed. And all those hidden memories, they start to come to life, which can be a bit of a pain in the ass, but it's coming up so that we can evolve the memories, so that the memories can be evolved. So we're not responding, reacting from the same memory, so that we're not still standing in the same place we were when the trauma happened, that we actually move the version of us from those traumatic experiences. We literally pick up ourselves and we move them out. And so there's, for many, and the way this happens in through everything that I teach, is that the veil between the unconscious and the conscious, that becomes so profound, is you recognize your patterns, your habits, you recognize what's been on repeat. And so what was an unconscious way of living, now you're like, holy shit. Because once you know, you can't unknow. All right, once you start to awaken to it, so the veils of illusions are gone, are lifting. What was once just unconscious patterns, like hopping up from the table because someone said something is missing from the table, and you're like, oh my God, something is missing. I better go get it. Or, oh, everybody needs me or somebody needs me. And it's like, no, now you stop and you go, oh, the salt is over there. That's in the fridge. Go help yourself. If you can't resolve it, if you can't solve it on your own, come back and I'll help you instead of feeling like you have to be the one to be the savior to everything and everyone. If that's not working for you and you've tried everything, come back and then I can help you. But unless you've tried things yourself, because it's not my job to go do it for you, those are parts of our set. Those are profound shifts that help us, that begin to happen through the menopausal stage, that then says that you're, to some people that still want you to be the same person, makes you difficult. And if being difficult, if you have to be the difficult person in someone else's story because because you speak a truth or in a nice way, kind way, or that you are no longer available to jump into action every time someone needs you, or to be pushed around, or to be, people make plans for your life and then you're being told you're stubborn. So if you have to be that person, then know that you're winning. You're starting to get it. You're starting to get what once was unconscious patterns and habits. It's now in your conscious awareness, and you're stopping before you act and before you react, and you're making changes. You're pivoting, you're turning. So congratulations, you are making it into the wise woman. So menopause is a time of the shadow work. It is that time of life as the body changes, as does your psyche. Your psyche makes changes. Menopause brings about, that confrontation of the unresolved grief, the things you never ever gave your opportunity to grieve. And now you get to grieve it, a reckoning with our own identity. It's like we start to really collapse the facade of the personas that we created, a letting go of illusions of control, holding on too tightly, and the realignment of our values, what we value, the most, and where those values sit. Um, and here's why. Here's why. It's because boundaries become non-negotiable. And now I'm a little bit on the flexibility. Like boundaries to me, I don't like the definition that's been defined about building up walls and barriers and pushing people all the way out of our lives instead of resolving our own self. Boundaries are about our ability to say, you know what, try it yourself. If you can't figure it out, I'll be here to help. Boundaries are about, you know what, I'm just not up for that right now. I'll come at another time, but that's just not for me right now. Those are different kinds of boundaries other than saying, you know what, I don't like that person. I don't like their beliefs, so I'm not coming. Right? It's like I can contain myself. I can be safe within myself to be in environments where, you know what, I don't have to agree with everyone. And everyone doesn't have to agree with me, and everyone doesn't have to like me, and that's okay. That's okay. There's a big difference. And so you stop forcing that sense of beliefs and acceptance and all of those things, and you start to see things as it's just okay that we're all different. It's okay that we have different views. It's okay that you want to do things different in your home. You don't have to do things my way. But if you need me to help you with something, just tell me what you need, and I'll try to do it the best that I can. But I will not be belittled, and I will not be a doormat. And that's the shifts that begins to happen. So people pleasing, that's the part that collapses, right? We're no longer people pleasing, and it makes us such witches, right? And to all of my beautiful witches, menopause stage is the stage of where our power, it is the rite of passage back into our power. Karma reveals itself in people's actions and in people's choices, and people will destroy themselves. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to wish anything upon people. You don't have to wish them shitty things. You can wish them well, and most likely people will destroy their own lives because they will not change their habits, their patterns, their behaviors, and their own choices are the things that cause them to have those experiences in their lives. And so ours is about patience and time and just knowing. The nice girl conditioning, it dies. I had the nice girl conditioning. It's like, oh, but you're the good one. You're the nice one. You're the one everybody can depend on. And it's like, it's okay. I'm not a girl. I'm a grown ass woman. Right. And so it's like, I don't have to be nice, but but I'm damn well kind. And so these are the things that really are happening because you're resolving your trauma and you're starting to, because of truth telling, trauma begins to resolve because you're no longer telling the story you were told to tell to keep everything under the rug or to keep everything secret. You're no longer telling that story. And that potential for change is now upon us. Um, the voice becomes stronger and it becomes less apologetic, and you stop apologizing for being you, and you start seeing the goodness, the greatness that does really exist in you. And so what no longer aligns spiritually becomes physically intolerable. You just physically can't experience accept things because spiritually it doesn't align. So what's happening? You're connecting to your essence of your soul. Your higher self is the identity that is the imprint from the soul's identity. It is the spirit itself. It is the spirit that speaks the truth, that is your truth. It is the part of you that you disguised, that you toned down, that you tried to fit into the pants for all those years, that you tried to nip and tuck, that you tried to do all those things. And then you just started to embody. And when you started to embody it, your beauty start to come. You start to not wonder if it was okay for you to get Botox, and you got Botox if you wanted, or you stopped getting Botox. You got tummy tucks and boob jobs because you chose to do something that you wanted to do instead of what somebody else wanted you to do. You stop being so tangled up in the physicalness and tolerating that what everyone else told you had to accept, and then you start to be less tolerable of your own physical bullshit, and you start to make those changes. And so the fire, a part of menopause in the multidimensional of spirituality that is connected to it, is the fire, the element of fire. And this is, the Kundalini energy, the hot flashes. When we work as healers, the moment I step in, my body's on fire. I know when I am speaking healing words through me and the message that's going out is healing, my body is on fire. Well, that's the same thing that's happening with menopause, that hot flashes, the night sweats, all that internal heat have been associated with the purifying fire of transformation. Is your body is transforming. It is burning away all of the old residue, all that no longer suits you. It is making you uncomfortable in your own skin so that you would shed the skin, so that you will unzip all of those layers that are masks that you've been wearing, costumes that you have been wearing, and that you take them all off. You show yourself mercy. And so that grace begins to reveal itself. And when grace reveals itself, truth begins to be seen. And that you don't need to mask, you don't need to dress a role, you don't have to be a character anymore. You get to be true to you. And that is where it's the breath of fire. It is our dragon's breath. It is the Kundalini energy. It is that which is natural. It is the volcano. It is Kali. It is that of all of the goddess energy that rages, that we're told to fear. That is that of Lilith. It is that of that volcanic. It is Maui. It is all of those beautiful goddess energies that rage in fire. And so there is a rage that is burning, and that rage that's coming is not a rage to destroy anyone else. It is the rage to destroy all that has hidden us. And it's where you begin to come out. And so it is a purification. It's an energy purification, a chakra in purification that is happening. And it's affecting like the solar plexus and the sacral. It is moving us and shifting us to not just live and create our whole lives from that emotional body or from the root, is for us to know that we can break traditions and we can break free and we can rise up and we can get into that higher expression of ourselves and live from that higher expression of ourselves. And so menopause is it's an it's something that moves us. It's something that lifts us up. Menopause is the burning away of those old identities. Um, and here's the thing, it is the reigniting. It is the reigniting of an inner passion after years of self sacrifice. It is the reigniting of inner passion after years of self sacrifice. It is that inner fire that reveals all that has been dormant. It is awakening. Something inside of you is waking up. It is something new. And if you are so attached with the something that is becoming old, you will deny yourself the opportunity to really embody what is new and what is trying to come in. And that's where bitterness comes in. That's when people get bitter, stagnant. That's when people, they suffer with isms and addictive patterns. They cling to the past instead of letting the past, realizing the past doesn't even really exist, that you're feeding the hungry ghost, and that there's this power that is to be, there's something beautiful about the reinvention, the reigniting, the reunion that is coming with being able to step into this truth. So menopause as a portal to sacred authority. The spiritual initiation of menopause shifts us from how do others see me to how do I see myself? This is the age of where the matriarch, the intuition led guidance, the teacher, the energy holder, and the spiritual elder begins to truly awaken. It's the alignment of the woman with the frequency that now steps into the self command. I command, and it's not I demand, I command the universe. I command love. I command the respect. And you don't demand it, you don't force other people to be it. You simply step into your sense of self respect, dignity, integrity, sense of ownership. You're very aware that you can do life on your terms, that you're not here pushing everything and everyone else away. You realize the power of support circles come together, but we're recognizing something more that is happening. And so for women, as this is opening, is that the mind is becoming less distracted, because in our early years, the hormonal cycles of the women's cycles of life, as a woman goes through her moon phases, as the woman goes through, her menstrual periods, is that she goes through those 27-day cycles. She goes through those mood swings. She goes through all of this. Women in menopause no longer have that. They no longer carry that. They're not distracted by those cycles. There is a consistency that begins to come. There's a fluid, there is a fluidity, there is a strong current that is unwavering. It's not wishy-washy, it's not up, it's not down, it is solid. They become more like the rock, the mountain, that sense of solid knowing. It is like when the volcano ash cools, right? So in the cooling and the solid is it forms into something. We become more solid in our knowing, more aware that we are going through the transition of life, and that we have this life to live and the value of time. And so energy becomes more refined and receptive. We're more understanding, because we know what it's like to be misunderstood. We know what it's like to be discounted, to be forgotten. We have great love, and for even those who mock us, mimic us, that want to be like us, we can kind of wrap them in our arms and love them, because they're our family. They're the people around us. They're humans, and that humankind and that human appreciation. But don't dare try to walk our rite of passage, because that belongs only to those who have walked the world, the life. And this is a rite of passage for the women of the world. Um, and so we recognize the need for healing. And so we heal the root. We heal the root of the story, the root cause of the story. And then the veils between worlds become thinner. Our connection to our loved ones, to the past, we begin to kind of lose our partners. We begin to lose our best friends more at a rapid speed. We see sickness. We see these things happening. We understand the value of our health and our vitality and the vitality and the life force energy that moves through us. And so we guard it with our lives in a more protective way. And so what is very common and why you see a lot of people step into spirituality, mediumship later in life is because of this transition that's happening. As this changes happens, because the dreams change, their connection, the veil thins, the illusions fade away. We'd have less of those illusions and more realizations. We have more truth. We start to see truth. We start to see through the lies we believe to be truth that guide it and led our lives. We see through the archetypal energy in the roles that we play. And we start to really have a stronger sense of feeling versus the emotions and the energies emitted from the emotions. And so our empathy, we have great empathy and great concern and great awe and great wonder for the world and for the people in the world. And so what happens mostly is that we begin to awaken those dormant parts of ourselves, those parts that have been asleep, that have been resting. And menopause is the return to authenticity. It is a return to self. And yes, our hair gets thin. We get little sparkles of hair sticking up. And we come back to our own body, the wisdom, the soul. And this brings about for us a sense of freedom, clarity, the ability to rest and not feel like we have to be always on the go, the release of external obligations, the emergency of deep purpose, right? We lose that sense that I have to have a purpose, and we really begin to recognize we've lived that purpose. We live your purpose is to live on purpose, to live with the divine purpose is to everywhere you go is an opportunity. Everywhere you go is an opportunity to change someone's life, to be a beacon of light, a beacon of hope, a beacon of connection, that everywhere we go, there's an opportunity to be doing something that is for the highest good of humanity. And then our spiritual self-trust. We start trusting ourselves and we stop denying ourselves the opportunities to believe in ourselves, to think for ourselves, and the doubt begins to eradicate and begins to move. And these are things that are possibilities. Does everyone connect to it? No. Why? Because we're stuck in the one dimensional. It is time to move into the multidimensional way of being able to see menopause, premenopausal, to see life. If you can only see life through that one little lens and you can't see the possibility of all the other things that are happening, the life is magical. It is a miracle in motion. And you, my friend, are a miracle in motion. And the fact that you're here to be able to age, that's a miracle within itself. That not everyone is blessed with the opportunity to be able to enter in and walk this rite of passage. So walk it with a lot of love and a lot of appreciation for who you are, because this is where this emotional, spiritual maturity changes how you walk through menopause. It's how we begin to master the use of our energy, the flow of our energy, and it's a maturity in all areas. Intuitively, you mature, and so the greatest gift I think I could probably add to this is the ability to guide others without losing oneself. You do not have to get lost, depleted. You do not have to self-sacrifice to be a guide to others. And that is the beauty of the Oracle. If you ever watch The Matrix, the movie The Matrix, look at the Oracle. She's not just the Oracle, she is the crone. And she is everything that this journey speaks about the multi-dimensional view and the spiritual connection between menopause and spirituality. And the more that you release trying to hang on and you allow yourself to be taken through it, taken through the journey, it's like let the winds of change take you and allow yourself to move through the winds of change. And you may be surprised with what comes out on the other side. You can see beauty, love, light, compassion, empathy in such a different way, in such a beautiful, beautiful journey. Is it easy? No. Is it something that is worth taking? Well, we kind of got no choice. It's happening with or without us. And so we can get lost and tangled up in looking at seeing it as something that is horrific and a problem that's happening, or we can see it as the beautiful fire that is burning through us and that's transforming us each and every day. And so it is an era of where you can embody that of the oracle and embody that of the wise woman. And so it is the woman who knows who she is. She is more than existing and is no longer asking permission to exist. We are here to more than just exist. And you do not need anyone's permission to exist, to be you, to show up in this world, to be seen, to be silly. Do not be afraid of making a fool of yourself. Do not feel like you should be ashamed or hiding the fact of who you are. We are the beautiful presence, treasures, miracles of this world. And it's a place that is well earned. And so multidimensional is the key. If you can see menopause through a multidimensional view rather than being trapped in a one-dimensional view, you will see the magic that is happening, and you will see how much more connected you are to your higher self, to the divine, to your own light, and to the center of self. You're coming home to the middle. You're not so attached to the masculine, to the feminine, as you're aware of the power of both, and you're moving to the center of self. Grounded, rooted, and strong. I send you so much love, and I hope in some way that this bit of information may have helped you in some way.